Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack, this is Morena Kalo, and today I have the fortune of chatting to Gregory Louw from Silvermist Vineyards. Gregory, lovely having you on the show. Please tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, good day, how are you?
I'm great.
Pleasure being here and sitting with a rainy Constantia, just to paint a picture in a beautiful box overlooking Constantia, container box, let's call it, with a beautiful wooden table and the rain coming in over the vineyards and trees around, and it's quite mythical actually. But a little bit about me. I'm a winemaker, of course. I'm the farmer, the winemaker, the viticulturalist, the owner, the whole deal. So it's been a 22-year journey on the wine side. It started as a hobby and took about 10 years to convince my family I wasn't wasting my time completely. And when I put the first wine in the bottle after 10 years of planting the first vineyards and so on, the journey really began. And since then it's been 12 vintages, so 22 years work. And I farm organically, I'm real, and enjoying the journey.
Chief cook and bottle washer, as they say. Silvermist, where is it located? Where in this beautiful valley of Constantia will we find Silvermist?
Silvermist is at the very top of the valley. So the farm sits just into the Constantia Valley, and then it sits on the saddle of Constantia Neck, and then it runs up the mountain towards the cliff edge, which is right at the top, and then it runs into a second property called Double Flash, which is another 30 hectares, which is next door, which is completely undeveloped, and it's this little mythical valley with two little rivers, and you just the furthest place from Cape Town, but you have the views over False Bay on the one side, and right across the entire Cape, and Stellenbosch, Franschhoek. You can look into the valley all the way, Durbanville Hills, back at Table Mountain, all the way around Orange Kloof, and on the other side you look out over the Atlantic. So it's right up on Constantia Neck. It's actually behind the Constantia Neck restaurant, and bordering Beau Constantia.
So tell me about the wines that you make. You have a philosophy of organic winemaking. What do you have in your portfolio?
So what I did is I started, obviously, and my first love was Shiraz and Sauvignon. So what did I do? I planted Shiraz and Sauvignon. First 175 Shiraz vines in the late 90s. I call that my practice block, and put them in the ground and moved the vines like 4 times, and the vines and the poles 5 times, and they're still growing, but are pretty hammered. So Shiraz, and then Cabernet snuck in. So I've got Cab and Shiraz as reds, and then I've got Sauvignon Blanc, and I've just started planting Chardonnay about 3.5 years ago. So now I've got Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Cab, and Shiraz, and it's all organic and all as beautiful as it gets.
Indeed. And tell me, how many hectares of vineyards do you have?
Very, very small, probably between 4 and 5 hectares planted. But it doesn't sound like much because it isn't very much. But when you look at having to start from basically massive gum forests, all the alien vegetation removed and vineyards planted, it's sort of I would say about a 7-year turnaround. So you kind of got to walk outside and look at a big forest of this alien gum trees, and you go, okay, let's start. Where do we start? And cut the trees down, and the journey starts there. So.
And are you looking at expanding that footprint?
Yes, definitely. At the moment, as I said, about 5 hectares of vines, 4 to 5 hectares planted, depending on the age. I've got another about 5 to 6 hectares I'm going to do at Silvermist, and then I've got next door, which is Double Flash, which is another 30 hectares. So I'm looking at, say, 15 to 20 hectares in total, but it may take me another 10 years.
These things do take time and unfortunately a lot of money to invest into doing what you want to do, especially if you're doing it properly. What is your annual production like at the moment?
At the moment, I'm about 15 to 20,000 bottles of wine, which is not a huge amount, I know, but every vintage varies. Of course, the organic goes up and down like a seesaw, and I'm about, I would say, 60% Sauvignon Blanc, about call it 30% Chardonnay, and then a little bit of Shiraz at the end, and a small bit of young Chardonnay at the end coming in. So yeah, it's not much, but we're getting there.
You have to begin somewhere. So how did this whole idea of owning a wine farm and making wine, how did it manifest itself?
Really, it started many years ago. I was inspired by a very, very, very good friend of mine, and I had the fortune of spending many years with their family out in Franschhoek. I was a youngster just out of school, and they were involved in the wine industry, and the father really inspired me, and they used to have these board meetings, and all these older guys would always walk in and hello old chap, and I'll be there in my shorts and slip-slops, and I said, well, listen, if they can do it, and they're much older, why didn't I start? So anyway, first 175 vines were planted. I got a lot of support from the different farms around me, borrowed the odd tractor and so on, but pretty much in 2000 cut down my first 1.5 hectares of gum forest myself with one gentleman who helped me, and took me 2 years to pull the trees out and drag the wood out and so on. Everything was cut into pieces and loaded on trucks. My back's not so great now, but anyway. And then took me, so pretty much 2000 cleared, 2003 planted my first 3,500 Sauvignon, and the rest is history. But then in 2014, I remember my first Superlink or Pantechnicon of bottles arriving, and for my first pretty much decent bottling, and a full Superlink. I think it was 20 odd tons of glass or something, and I just realized right there I couldn't run this out of my back pocket anymore, and I needed to think a bit more. But so I'm just going along with a journey, and loving every second.
It certainly sounds like an absolute labor of love, and probably a lot of blood, sweat and tears along the way, for sure. Tell me, which of your wines at the moment gives you the most pleasure, that just makes you feel happy every time you work with it in the cellar, or it might be one that you've already bottled, that you just, every time you open it, it's just like, yes, this is great.
I think truly I really enjoy working with Sauvignon Blanc, as I make 100% cultivar. So what I grow is what I harvest, and I make, and I really enjoy making it. I enjoy harvesting it. I enjoy watching it grow from the organic side. Obviously the berries are really small, and a lot of skin contact, and just produces the most extraordinary wines, and I really enjoy the Sauvignon Blanc process. I love drinking it. You'll see our wines, if you do ever get the chance to drink them, are not quite like any other Sauvignon. They're beautiful, they're rich, they're quite full-bodied, but at the same time fresh, clean and crisp. Quite perfumey on the nose, in the warmer region, the warmer years I should say, but quite a showstopper. So definitely probably my Sauvignon. Obviously my Cabernets and so on are beautiful, but being in South Africa where it's quite warm, it's lovely to drink white wine.
white wine all the way. Do you have a food pairing philosophy of sorts? Is it something that you believe there's a recipe to, or a way to do it better, or a right or a wrong?
I feel being in this little valley, Constantia, we're very, very lucky, because even, for instance, the Sauvignon Blancs, being a maritime, cool climate, has a natural high acidity in the grapes, which allows your Sauvignon Blanc to be blended, not blended, but paired with a richer, meatier dish, with a steak, with a stew, because the acidity just cuts through, and it's almost like a palate cleanser. So for me, I'm happy to pair, for instance, a Sauvignon with a meatier, stewier dish, as well as the Cabernet, which is more traditional. So to answer that, I think the best way to say it is, no, I don't really have a... there's no blueprint, I believe, to completely pair wine with food. There is definitely a guideline, but I'll always push the envelope.
And then tell me, have you got any good luck rituals for when harvest begins, or anything that you do kind of to signify the beginning of a harvest?
I think the truth is, everybody gets a bit antsy. I get a bit nervous and excited. But when you think nervous, I just go, well, I'm actually not nervous, I'm actually excited. So the two are the same. I don't do too much voodoo, let's call it cliche voodoo, or of the organic thing. I just try and keep it as natural and straightforward as possible. But I would probably say that you kind of put yourself in a mindset, and you get into those vineyards, you taste the grapes, you monitor as best you possibly can. And I don't send my grapes off for analysis ever. I just walk through the vineyards, I taste the grapes. I'll use an old-fashioned refractometer. I just go on taste and acid and flavor, and obviously just checking literally berry by berry with a refractometer, and then obviously I'll do a sample, the whole block, just to make sure I'm there. But generally that is my process. But just in terms of a mascot, on my wine bottle I've got a little red dog. Her name was Rocket Dog, and she walked in about 15 years ago in a coastal town called Hermanus, a little street dog, and she's never left my side. She passed away about 5 months ago, but almost made 20 years old. So she is my lucky mascot. Always when I open the bottle, on the top of the cap, there's a little tiny red dog, and I always take the cap off and rub it flat, and I walk around with one of those behind my cell phone cover and in my traveling bag, because she's truly brought me the best luck. So I have a little bit of a softer side too. So that's the little Rocket Dog.
The Rocket Dog. I'll remember that every time I see the little red dog on your wine. So you seem to be very intuitive and working with your instincts very much. Would you say that you are more in touch with your emotions in the vineyards, and do you speak to your vines? Do you engage with them? Is there a special additional connection that you have?
I think that you hit the nail on the head. I feel that I'm very intuitive. Everything is connected, I guess, and I think that the one thing the vines have taught me over everything else is patience, because for you to put your time looking at them for 7 years, from planting to actually producing grapes or your own wine, you definitely learn a lot of patience. But if you treat them well, and you give them what they need, then they'll reward you with the most wonderful fruit to turn into wine. And I think the success starts right there. It's just positivity, as well as hard work. I think the two go hand in hand. But I think that's probably the best answer I can give you.
And it's a very good answer. When you were a little boy, what did you want to become?
We all dream, always dreamt of owning or living on an island and just walking around it and surfing. And in terms of a job, I guess I've always been interested in growing things. I come from a old farming family, but they kind of skipped a generation or two. So I've always had little veggie gardens, and I think my father is an architect and my grandfather was an architect, so I thought, let me be an architect. And my dad said to me, listen, son, we've got enough architects in the family. So anyway, I went off and studied business, and then after that, the winemaking degrees and so on. So I think best way to put it is, when I was younger, I was completely infatuated by machines and excavators, as all boys are, but and still am. Now I've got a collection of my own, so I think that's probably my best answer.
So you were talking about a dream and going to an island and surfing. If you had to go to a deserted island and you could only take 3 bottles of wine with you, what would those wines be?
This is probably the toughest question. I mean, you obviously know the first one is going to be yours. I love the Buchanot's Kloof Syrah. I really enjoy that. As a red, I think I'd probably take my white. Sure, this is a tough one here. I'd lean towards my own, but I'm just thinking I do want a bit of variety in there. I know a lot of people are going to think this is funny, but I quite enjoy the Springfield Life from Stone. It's super punchy, and so I guess possibly those two as whites, and then a Buchanot's Kloof Shiraz or Syrah. I think that's definitely the way I would go.
I think you'll have a lovely time on that island. When you're not working, what takes up your time?
Thinking about work.
Oh, no,
I don't. I never stop. I really don't sleep much. So I plan for the next project, and just continually trying to put two and two together and see how I can improve things. I guess some of us are. It's not the right thing to say, but we're not never happy, but we always just want to better things. So when I'm not working, which is pretty much always, I'm 24 hours. Everything's my problem at the moment, and I guess I'm still young-ish, and I love it. So I don't take off time. I do go on the odd holiday, but when I'm away, I'm still thinking about work. To be honest, it's a terrible time, but I do love to spend time with my family. I've got a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful little girls, so spending time with them is really magic.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the only other priority other than looking after the farm and the vineyards. Sport? Do you support any sporting teams or sporting individuals, perhaps?
I love to watch a bit of rugby. I don't make enough time to do it, but I really do enjoy it. Obviously, the South African team. I'm very patriotic, and believe that it's very important to be patriotic. Any sporting that is happening that our country is involved in, I'll get right behind it. Excuse me. I actually watched a Formula One from start to finish the other day. I think it was a Canadian Formula One, which I never ever do. I never seem to make the time to do it. There's always time if you make it, and I really quite enjoyed it. I can see why people get quite into it. But I would definitely say any sporting that's happening for the country, cricket, rugby, 100%. So Formula One seems quite interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject. I think a lot of people are getting back into Formula One. I think it used to be really popular in the 80s and early 90s perhaps, and then kind of took a dip when they were just constantly the same winners. And yeah, so if you could share a bottle of wine with anyone, alive or dead, who would that be?
I think if I was ever I could ever spend time with someone, I would probably invite David Attenborough. He could be quite interesting around the table. I mean, it's not like these guys don't spend a lot of time with other people, so I mean, I would just be a number, but that could be incredible. You know, watching, I think it was Trials of Life when I was younger, which really just blew my mind. So I love the natural world, and I think David Attenborough would definitely be it. If you want to go controversial, I would say maybe Trump, because that could be a whole other kettle of fish, or Kim Jong-il, or any of those, you know, sort of way out there guys. But definitely, I think my first choice would be David Attenborough.
Okay, I like that. I think that could be some interesting conversation could stem from that bottle of wine. Okay, what would you consider to be a really good piece of advice that you would give anyone? Life advice.
I think number one, be yourself. Because, as you know, there's no one else there, no one else in the world like you. So be yourself, be confident, be true, stand by people, and be friendly. You know, it costs nothing to be nice, and I think that's really got me a long way to where I believe I am. You know, we're all just running around this little tiny planet with a bit of oxygen around it, and we all think we're very special and so on, which we all are. But you know, doing things for others is super important. It always comes back tenfold. But at the same time, no good deed goes unpunished. So just remember that there's that out there. But I think that would be my answer.
What goes around comes around. 100%. That is for sure. Karma is real. So you open whatever it is that you read, be it the paper or social media or whatever, and there is a photograph of a celebrity. And they were photographed inside a restaurant, and on the table is one of your wines. Which wine is it that they are enjoying, and who is that celebrity?
I think that I have to kind of go with one of my current vintages, but I would say maybe a 2017 Sauvignon Blanc. Really was a real showstopper of a year for me, in terms of it fulfilling all the characteristics of a Sauvignon Blanc. You know, you had that from different areas, different pockets of the vineyards, and leaving certain areas hanging for an extra week or two. So you got that grassy green mineral character. Then you got that as the beginning, and then you got that mid fruit, which was the white peach, white pear. Slightly higher up the slope, you got that sort of unripe passion fruits, and then I left certain areas hanging for a few more weeks, and you got that real ripe banana, tinned pineapple character. So you almost got, and it still had its incredible acidity, and it was free run juice, and 10% of it was barrel fermented. So you got that full Sauvignon Blanc experience, you know, from that grassy notes all the way through. And I think that's the wine I'd probably present them. And I would probably think, what is old Arnold Schwarzenegger's name? What's that? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, he was the Terminator. Mm-hmm. I would actually probably walk in and say, how did you go from a film star to being like a government official in America? It seems to happen all the time, but that could be quite cool, seeing him having a sip on it. Yeah.
I think that would be very cool, actually. We're almost done. However, before we finish, I'd like to play a little game with you. I am going to name 3 varieties, and you need to pair each one with either a song or a music artist or a genre that you feel really kind of represents that variety. So number one, I think, needs to be Cabernet Sauvignon.
Metallica.
Cool, very cool. Dark, passionate, loud. Okay. Let's then go with Sauvignon Blanc.
I would probably lean towards a very... Sure, you got me here because I wanted to say two names. One is very soft and the other one is quite loud. I guess, oh my gosh, you've really stumped me here, but maybe Elton John. Just a great, easygoing, like some of his music. Beautiful at the same time.
Feel good stuff. Yeah. Let's throw in some Cabernet Franc.
It's a difficult one, that. Tina Turner. She's got the soft side. She is a woman, and but she's super fiery at the same time.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Okay, we're pretty much done. I would love you to just share with our listeners before we sign off where they can read up, see more, get more information online about Silvermist.
At the moment, I think the best place would be Silvermist Wine Estate or Silvermist Hotel. The farm is going through rapid changes. It never stops, and we've got an award-winning restaurant called Louw, which has been voted top restaurant in Africa. We've also got 2.5 kilometers of zip lines on the farm, which is Cape Town zip lines, and we've also just been voted top adventure tourism activity in Africa. So I guess those two accolades are under our arm. But I think that definitely online. As I said, we've got the small hotel. We've got functions venues. We've got a huge amount coming in the future, and I don't even want to tell you what. But I think Silvermist Vineyards on Instagram, and then Silvermist Hotel on Silvermist Hotel, Silvermist Estate. I think that's probably the best way. Just type it in and you'll find it.
It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today, Gregory, and thank you so much for your time and for sharing your passion with us. And I really hope that Silvermist just goes from strength to strength.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.